Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Sublime Text Live, episode number 107, where we're going to be chilling on a nice, quiet Monday off week, if we will. It is close to the end of the month now, isn't it? At the 25th. Good gracious, we're almost out of this month and into November. This has really gone quickly. I think they're going correctly over there. It is perfect. Let's turn that off for just one moment. How is everybody doing? That did not do anything. Let's try that again. It's a weird remote. It only works if it thinks it turned it on. It's weird. Hope everybody's having a great week thus far. It's been a lot of meetings at work. A lot of meetings. Looking forward to sitting, chilling, and hanging with you guys here in the Sublime Text Live. You know, the point where if I made sure that I actually had the chat window open here, we could respond to questions that you may have about Sublime Text. If you have plugin development questions, package questions, you just want to say hi, anything that you would like to ask is fair game. I may or may not have an answer, but you are free to ask it. And that goes for the entirety of the stream. Even if it seems like I'm doing something else, we are here to hang out with you guys. That is the plan. Speaking of plans, don't really have a ton planned for this evening. Someone asked a question on YouTube that seemed like it would be a good thing to ponder, I think, to test. We have a regression in the Sublime Text dev builds that we have not reported. Hello, Ben. Welcome. Yes. You may remember a couple of streams ago, I discovered or noted or what have you that Sublime package files show up in the list of results from load resources. And I have, on 3 separate occasions, started stepping through figuring out exactly in what build that happened. And every single time I get disrupted in the middle of the operation and have to go off and do something and completely forget about it. So tonight is the night to nail that down one way or the other. Figure out exactly what build things started to go a little weird in. We also need to update our version of Sublime Text, which I should have good to go, and maybe also my version of Chrome because it thinks it needs to be updated. So a fun time will be had by all, I hope, including the people drinking coffee and soup out of a cup while wearing a white shirt on stream. That couldn't possibly go wrong. Best case scenario is some sort of soy sauce related stain. My goodness. I think we should. That's good. That's good. That's good. We're good. Let's roll. And also, I have fixed the alarm that's supposed to remind me on a Wednesday to let people know about the stream the following Monday. I've tried a couple of times. This time I think I finally got it. It was in a calendar in my Google just so that it wouldn't harass my wife with an ongoing thing. And that calendar does not have any defaults set. It's a heck of a thing. Let's jump into the desktop. Harshraj Gupta, hello and welcome. What we have here is some stuff that we've been working on in my Twitch streams as of late. If you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen this guy. This is our little brain buddy. I forgot that this was actively still loaded in here. I have not touched this desktop in quite some time. We have quite a few things that this bad boy can do now, including speaking text. Oh, you're all messed up now, aren't you? Yes, you are. There was a little bit of a problem. Hello, G-Bound. Welcome. We've managed to fix it real good, you know? It's all backwards all the time, but that's not what we're here for, so we're not going to worry about that one too much. But if you want to see more development on this, including maybe fixing stupid bugs, highly recommend the old Twitch streams. You might notice that my copy of Chrome wants itself badly to be updated, and also so does my copy of Sublime Text. So we should start Sublime, and let's say that we're building in build 4120. Kind of I noticed the last couple of dev builds weren't announced in the Discord, but they are announced in the new dialog box for updates, which is the cool. Fixed a crash and fixed text drag and drop. Text drag and drop is one of those things where I know people love it, but I don't understand why. Kind of like those cats that have no hair on them and they just sort of look like raw plucked chickens. I'm sure they are absolutely lovely animals, and anyone that has one loves it dearly. But I think, how is that possible? And I think the same thing about wanting to select text and grab it with the mouse and drag it somewhere else. More often than not, roughly 100% of the time, maybe 110% of the time, I end up in a situation where that's not what I was trying to do, and it just reorders some text. I decided, you know what? Actually, I just want to select this part. Oh, look, now I just grabbed the whole thing and moved it right a little bit. Never been a fan of that sort of operation. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, let's see. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not local. How is everybody doing this fine week? It is Monday all day, as we say. While pardon me, while I update my Chrome and fantastic. Awesome. On the plus side, no meeting today. On the downside, 3 meetings tomorrow. Not too keen on that. Also, we had the most interesting issue with our Git repository earlier today. Bring that over there. People can actually see it. We use Git which is basically, I believe it started out as a fork of GOGS, the Go Git service, if I remember correctly, and they went a different way with development. It's also written in Go. We're using that at work for part of the project that we're working on, just my particular team, because we needed to be using Git. We needed to be set up quickly and easily, and getting somebody to set us up a TFS repository was going to be a long, drawn-out process. And also, we wanted to have, or at least I wanted to have, a little bit more control over them, because their views are slightly draconian in what they will allow you to do and not do. And we set it up. It works pretty good. If you're interested in having a system kind of like GitLab or GitHub or TFS or other systems of its ilk that allow you to manage Git repositories from a web page, do pull requests, do issues, all that stuff, it is, in my experience, a ton easier to get up and running than, say, your own copy of GitLab, and cheaper, as in free, as opposed to some of those other ones. Problem we had with this operation, unfortunately, was that the VM that it was in went a little bit doolally. So we had to wait a while for backups to be restored. We rebuilt the VM. We mostly just got the home directory. Part of the backup was corrupted because that's just the way that works. Your backups tend to be corrupted, all else being equal. And as a result of that, after everything came back, everything seemed to work perfectly fine. However, slight issues with, we created a pull request. We're teaching people on the team to create a pull request, let everybody know, have people review, and the like. Because when we move forward in the project, we're going to be moving into those TFS repositories with those draconian policies. These guys are pretty new to Git in general, so it seems like a good idea to start baby stepping them towards the workflow that they're ultimately going to have to do. And also, selfishly, it stops me from having to do all of their merges for them. So we work on, you're going to have to create a pull request. Make sure that you choose your branch, that it comes from, it is going to rather the develop branch. Then we have it set to require 2 reviews that don't include the person that made the pull request to begin with, that we'll have to review just to make sure that things seem kosher before it can be merged. Very common workflow policy, I think. Problem that we have is, or had rather, because it's fixed now, is that GOGS uses Git hooks on the back end to know when the repository is being updated, which of course makes total sense, right? And the problem we had was someone created a pull request, got it partially reviewed, and then discovered, oh, you know what? I forgot to do something. So she said, I have one more commit. Do I just push this up, right? Is there anything else that I have to do? And I said, no, that's perfectly fine. It's transparent. The pull request will update with your extra commit, and life will be good. And she said, cool. And then I went over there to be the second reviewer for her pull request. And down near the bottom, it said that the pull request was invalid because the fork info was deleted. And sad state of affairs there. Scooted around for a little bit on the web. Eventually, what I discovered is that when they had rebuilt the server, they used a slightly newer version of Git than what we were using, and it has, I believe, a slightly different layout to its Git hooks. So when the push happened, the Git hook didn't fire and do everything that it needed to do. So boom, stuff blowed up. So I managed to, well, it was a pretty easy fix once we realized that's what was going on. There's a button in the control panel that you can use to reinstate webhooks for all repositories. There's only a couple of them. And then in order to clear things, I used a force push to push the branch as if it was the commit that was there when it was created, which brought everything back, and then pushed the second commit again, and all was free and clear. It was quite a fun little evening, I must say. The thought just occurs here now that we have Chrome updated, but it might interfere with my camera. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do that and update my Chrome, but I'm not going to restart it here. What we can do is take it to the intermission screen, restart Chrome, restart my camera, bring you out. We'll see what happens, but I don't want to necessarily do that. Unfortunately, I'd forgotten about that aspect of this. The notification was there the other day, and I haven't had a chance to update it as of yet. But I'd like to keep these things all up to date. Yeah, it was indeed a fun little issue. Definitely a more fun diversion than what we've been doing as of late. So we got that going. And we're making people on the team slightly angry because the policy going forward in the project that we're working on is to nobody can push directly to develop. There are various CI mechanisms that need to be done before that can happen. Code can only get into develop as a result of a merge operation, which of course makes perfect sense. And the merges need to be done by way of pull requests, and the pull requests require a minimum of 2 people to code review and sign off, and you can't be one of them, which historically has caused us problems because I was the only person on the team working on this. So we would have to pluck another member from the team to look at code in a language that he's not totally familiar with to see if he could spot anything hinky and say that he approved that change. And then once he did, one of our managers would come and say, I agree with what he said, so that we can do a merge. Not necessarily the safest plan in the universe, but we're also dealing with some pretty low scale changes here as well. So these people are going to have to be working on this stuff now. But at least one person is a little unhappy because he's going to have to look at code, and more importantly, I laid down the worst possible thing apparently that I could tell the team is that protocol dictates that when a merge happens, the commit message has to have the job number in it, because if somebody else discovers a problem and they trace it back to the merge as being the reason why it failed. They wanted to be able to go look up the ticket in the Jira system to see more information about what the change was actually supposed to be. And apparently, typing a commit message that includes the task number for the work that you're working on right now could possibly be the worst thing anybody has ever asked anybody to do. At least that seemed to be how that worked out. Ridiculous, ridiculous stuff. I have a question about this stuff. And we got a few different things that we want to work on here. One is, someone asked in the comments section on the channel, in the video, for the sidebar. They always want the sidebar to be open. But there's an issue with that, which is that a window that has sidebar, hide sidebar turned on, when you create a new one, the new window will obtain the same settings. And you can't change the value of it while there's nothing in the sidebar that could possibly be open. So this person's problem is they always want this to go. Now, it does create a new window based on the setting in the current window. So theoretically, if you went through all of your windows and made sure that the sidebar was turned on, everything would be good. But if you were using projects, then their session would be stored distinctly and you'd have to keep doing it. So the thought was, is it possible to create a plugin that would make sure that whenever a window is opened, that the sidebar visibility is always turned on? It seemed like it at the time, and then after I thought about it a little bit more, I wasn't entirely sure. You worked on configuring GNOME over a WebEx meeting? Oh, my heart goes out to you, sir. Ow, well, the coffee's hot. That's good. I'm just curious if I can type. The sidebar currently thinks it could be visible in this window. It can't be because there's no actual things open for it to be open, but it would be open if we wanted it to be. What if we did something like this? All right, so what we've learned is sidebar visible will, oh, I guess I should probably talk that back to true, huh? Is sidebar visible? Despite the fact that it says returns true if the sidebar will be shown when contents are available, totally does what we want it to do here. Which means should be possible to create a plugin that makes sure that whenever a project is loaded or a new window is created, that we turn this on if it's not already on, right? It seems like something that we should be able to do. A new user of GNOME as well. I bumped the microphone there, by the way. Sorry about that. That is also some hard action. I will say that I think I mentioned this in a previous stream. I'm not entirely sure, but we've been doing a lot of linting of our code recently. It's not something that we set up for ourselves based on time constraints. Some of the other developers are using Visual Studio Code with a SonarLint plugin, and that SonarLint thinks that all of the code is clean as far as its checks are concerned. But the project that we're merging our code into, it has different ideas about what lint rules should be applied. It doesn't use that. It uses a different lint tool and such. There were a lot of problems. So we did a lot of fixing of what were more or less very common problems across the whole of a code base that is roughly 200 files. And while that was happening, other developers were also working on other changes. So what I got to do was spend a lot of time in Zoom meetings walking people through merges of the code to make sure. Oh, is it stuck? Oh, man. Come on, chat window. Thanks for pointing that out. Oh, look, it does kind of work. Now, huh, say something else. I have a feeling that its position may be wrong. In which case, I think I'll have to fix that after the stream. Let's see. Is this a crop? It is a crop. All right. Uh-oh. That's too far. I think we want something like that. I suspect, yeah, there we go. The Twitch window fills from the bottom up, and this one fills from the top down, so I think I have the cropped version of it positioned incorrectly in the window. I think. Or that page has gone horribly awry. Yeah, let me check something real quick here while we're discussing stuff. But indeed, no, that's weird. It seems to only have a couple of things there, too. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. I should be here. Indeed, that chat does indeed have all kinds of stuff. It just does not appear in this. So, yeah. What I've learned is do not in any sense try to live crop chat stuff while thing is in progress. So we'll fix that, but it should be resolved now. Apologies for that. Surprised that that wasn't the same case last time. We had so many merges to do because other developers were doing stuff, and I was the one that made most of the lint changes to a variety of things, and there were a fair number of conflicts because of the work that other people were doing. That was not a fun day. That's not the first time that's happened. Not lint related, but we did a huge code overhaul related to how we talk to the database and use database models that had a similar effect on things. But the thing that I found kind of funny, that could well be if there was a lot of chat. Yeah. Oh, actually, I think what probably happened, the same chat is also used in the large one, and I think last time we spent more time there before we jumped into here, so it would have, yeah, it would have pre-filled. So, whoops. Makes more sense for it to go from the bottom up, I suppose, right? Or at least it has to here because that's the way that it actually works. It's been one of those days. We did a thing where a person had done some changes based on relative develop, and I had done a bunch of linter changes, and we wanted to merge her stuff in. And for clarity, what I did for her was walk her through a rebase to rebase her changes on top of the new linted code. To make things a little bit clearer, because she made a lot of changes. She was the only one that knew the full ramification of the changes that she made. So being able to see each set of changes in context seemed like a nice way to make sure that there weren't any problems. Plus, it keeps the history a little bit cleaner. But no matter how many times I pointed out that this is replaying the changes in the order that you originally wrote them, there kept being minor panic attacks when we would go to a file to resolve a conflict and it didn't have things that she knew was supposed to be there. But we got there in the end, and now she thinks that is a great tool. So I think we've learned something there. So this will actually work from the looks of it. I think it's kind of ill-defined, but I think what we would want is something like that. We will make Git fanatics out of these people yet. Also in the previous meeting, now you guys tell me, you guys use Git, right? How frequently do you commit stuff? Because I personally am a proponent of the theory, commit early, commit often. If you watch me on streams working, you've probably seen this sort of thing happening a lot. At any given time, I want to be working on one logical small set of changes, and I want to be able to compare what is known good to what I'm doing right now. and that means that I will commit fairly regularly. Maybe when all is said and done, I might squash some commits together if it seems like there's just too many small commits. But I want to be in a situation where if I work on a change that's kind of intertwined through a variety of files and things go wrong, I know that there's a single command that I can run that'll put everything back to the state that I was in before I started, or that I can see exactly what state I was in before I started to see where I might have gone wrong, which isn't something you can do if you make a change and then another change and then another change and then another change. That's kind of how these guys have been working for a long time, and I think it's because they've been using Visual Source Safe for a long period of time, which I believe is kick you in the butt first as a version control system, kind of like RCS is, if I'm remembering correctly. Fortunately, I never really had much of a thing to use it. But if I am remembering correctly, much like RCS, you need to check out code when you're going to modify it, and nobody else can check out code while you have code checked out. So frequently, to make sure that nobody was blocking anybody else, they just work in local clones of things that they'd set up, and then do one big check-in at the end. So we end up with a history where one commit is everything for version 1, and the next commit is everything for version 1.2, and the next commit is one for everything for 1.3, and so on. And they also keep 2 copies of the repository, a production and a development, which I've never been a fan of myself personally. Now, when we were talking in the meeting, and this is something that we're probably going to talk about in videos on Merge when they flow to the top, and we're getting really close on that one now, is the idea, and this really got people excited in the meeting when I talked to them about it, about Git bisect and its ability to narrow in for you on the exact commit in which what you're trying to diagnose was originally implemented. And this works, of course, if you're familiar with it, a lot better if there's more than one commit, and it works even better still if that one commit just has the changes related to one particular thing. There's less things to look at. So when I pointed that particular feature out, that brought a lot of people on board with the idea that maybe they don't want to create one gigantic commit on the end. For me, as soon as I have enough changes, which changes day to day, but I still like to get changes in early. Indeed, I know that there's at least one person on the team now, after realizing, and this is one of those things to really get your head around with Git, right? The fact that it's distributed, unlike Subversion and the other stuff that they were using, means that just because you make a commit doesn't mean that it's published for the world to see. You have the ability to still modify it, undo anything that you might have done. And this person has found this incredibly freeing in that regard. At the end of the day, she'll check in any work that she might be working on to make sure that she's not going to lose anything when she comes back. And then she has a nice history of what she worked on from day to day. So when it comes time for the meeting at the end of the week where people want to know breakdowns for stuff, she actually can look back and say, on Monday, I must have done this because this is the code that I checked in, and the like, which seems very cool. Ben says, I commit when I'm done with some contained unit of work. Sometimes that's a lot of changes. Other times it's not. Commits should generally be doing one thing. I tend to agree. Yes. I never want to commit multiple changes at once. Sometimes I will implement multiple changes at once and then have to very slowly and carefully commit stuff to make sure that they go into commits in an appropriate way. I try not to work that way. And you may have also seen me do stuff where I might do a unit of stuff and commit it and then slowly amend that commit. Generally, I would do this in a case such as the lint changes where there were 137 files that were changed for one particular lint thing, which was, I believe, using 3 equal signs instead of 2. It touched pretty much every file. And I was very carefully going through those files after they were fixed and saying, these ones looked good. I'm going to commit this. These are the only things I'm committing right now. And then I would go through more and just amend onto that one, so that if I get pulled away, I know the list of files is growing ever shorter, and you can tell that there's an end in sight, basically. Indeed. Let's see. I have a test branch, stuff that's just being tested out, may or may not go into production, a master branch, nobody touches, and a main working branch for live active code base. Yeah, we're doing the same thing now. The they actually started out on the project that we're working on work right now, on using Git flow, and they've sort of modified it from, I guess, the way that it would be rigidly defined, if you will. I mean, everybody is still working in their own feature branches, but they've really relaxed essentially the notion of bug fixes and hot patches. We basically were using Git flow in a way where develop is the next version that's going to be released, master is the version that is released. When it comes time to cut a release, the merge happens and then testing happens and such, which sounds an awful lot like just using branches, right? I think they ran into a lot of problems with their trying to hot patch things and fix bugs in already going releases. People kept bobbling the football in those ones. But what do you have a policy? Here's another question. Do you have a policy on committing things into the develop branch, say the development version of the code, whatever you happen to have that being named? For override audit, for example, that branch is named stable because that's stable is the branch that is the one that's released, and master is the one that's currently under active development. So do you have a policy where you're allowed to commit into that branch if you want, or do you always only bring things in via a merge from another branch in order to, make sure that the workflow is such that these changes were tested before they were put in? How do you guys work on stuff like that? For us, the project that we're working on, historically we've allowed people to put stuff into develop if they want, but because we're moving into a repository where that is very strictly controlled because of continuous integration concerns, we're working through now forcing everybody to do a merge. And one more question about your Git workflows. Fast forward merges versus no fast forward merges, even if a fast forward merge might actually happen. And side note, squash. Do you squash changes into one when you merge them in, or do you do like a regular merge commit? What's your policies on that? These are the sorts of questions that are burning my ears because we happen to be talking about this stuff a fair bit lately. The policy at work is to always squash merge and delete the source branch, which you kind of have to do when it does the squash, because otherwise you get a merge commit back the other way. But yeah, that's usually the way that would be done. Yeah, you prefer squashing your commits down into one. It says at work they want us to squash commits, which is because it's a mono repo with tons and tons of things, and it's already ballooned up to it's at 3 gig now. It's went up a half a gig since a couple of weeks ago or a month ago when I was talking about it in this Sublime Text Discord. So if we could minimize the amount of history, that would be great. Hello, Abhishek. Can you tell me why my terminus is not working? Well, that depends. Is there an error message of some sort that's displayed in the console? And what does not working entail? Does it not display anything at all, or is it mostly working, but it's not doing what you want it to do? Pardon me. We have Sublime Text 3 plugin to automatically hide the sidebar when it loses focus and automatically hide and show the sidebar with this plugin. This sounds like something like what we might actually want here. Now, my personal, for a long time, I didn't really, my policy on merges was that if it was a fast forward merge, it was a fast forward merge. And if it was a regular merge, it was a regular merge. And I just left it the way that it was. My current thinking on this, working on some projects, is that I kind of find it nice to do a merge in on a branch such that it's always a merge commit and never a fast forward, even if it could be, just because that makes the graph show where code diverged and came back together. I don't really have any reason for doing something like that. It just sort of seems like something that is kind of handy information to know, which is information that would kind of be lost unless you were very precise about how you do commit messages. Automatically hide and show the sidebar as you type, save, and navigate. Watch for modifications on the currently open file. Oh, all right. Well, that does not do what we're interested in doing here, so let's not worry about that. But what we will do is check out. I'm pretty sure there is a on new window. Could have just searched for it, but you know. Called when a window is created. So here we go. On new window would be one thing. So this is whenever a window is opened, let's change this to never not sidebar. Never not sidebar. That sounds like a fun thing. So this event raises in any window whenever it happens to be created. So, you know, we might say something like if window dot if not window is sidebar visible. What's it called again? Set. Don't do that, guy. It is called set sidebar visible. Set sidebar visible true. That's one thing that we might want to do here. And the other would be what? If a project was opened, called right after a project is loaded. So we might do something like, if I was in Sublime. What was it again? Shoot. On you. Don't need that. So I think this is the plugin that would do what this particular user wants, right? Anytime there is a new window created, if the sidebar isn't potentially visible, make sure that it is. And every time you load a project, do the exact same thing. That way, every window will always have the sidebar turned on all the time, no matter what. What time is it right now? This is roughly the, is that right? No, pardon me. It's this. So the gist of this particular plugin is that someone in YouTube, I cannot remember off the top of my head right now who asked, in the comments section of the video on the sidebar, wanted to know, they always want to have the sidebar visible no matter what, and it's sort of a mental disconnect whenever you start Sublime on a brand new computer or install it, that the sidebar doesn't appear places until you start setting stuff. And if you don't do it very frequently, it's tricky to remember where it was that actually was. And I mentioned in the comments of that video that it should in fact be possible, I think, to create a plugin that does that. This is an example of that particular type of plugin. This is an event listener that listens for a new window to be created or for a project to be loaded from disk. In both cases, it gets the window, either the window that was just previously created or the window containing the project that was just loaded. And it asks the API, if we check right over here, the first item is returns true if the sidebar will be shown when contents are available. Not that the sidebar is currently visible on the screen, because the sidebar will hide itself if it thinks it has nothing to display. But if it did have something to display, would it enable itself? And if that returns false, we use the second item here on line 269 to make the sidebar visible. That is pretty much it. I think those are the only two cases in which a window can appear. If you were to create a brand new one, or if you swap a project into the current one. The state of the sidebar is distinct per window. Any window that is global has it stored in the session. Anything that has a project is stored inside of the workspace for that particular project, or the workspace that's loaded in that particular window. Anyway, I think this would resolve the problem. If you wanted to, I'm not sure if there is an option for knowing if, I don't remember there being one, the open files will be will appear. I don't think there is one for that. But this would make sure that the sidebar is just always visible. And we'll throw this up on a GitHub gist as well. So that is one thing that is sorted, if you will. Now, here's the other thing. We're in build. No, that's not the version. That's not what that's called. Is it version? Pardon me. We're in Sublime version. This is build 4120. And if I did sublime.find resources star.sublime-package. Hello, Ashwin. Welcome. How you doing today? We are definitely finding them in build 4120. So we know build 4120 has a weird problem. This can also be seen if you do this. You can see all of these Sublime package files in the catalog. They're not supposed to be inside of the catalog. So let's do this. Let's see, 4112. Let's pick that as a number. Shoot. Yeah, I'm sure that's fine. Okay, so now we're, thank you, we're in, nah, I didn't mean to click that, pardon me. We're now in build 4112, and it's still finding some packages, but it's really only finding the one. I think we probably, I guess, for testing purposes, want to test this in safe mode, right? Just to be absolutely certain that there's nothing funky going on. Although I can't imagine that there's anything a plugin could do that would change that, but something could monkey patch the Sublime module. So let's see, view package file for, you know, this could be an interesting thing. Let's see. Sublime.load resources. Oh, don't do load. Find resources. Star.sublime-package. In build 4112 in safe mode, it doesn't do this. In build 4112 in not safe mode, it finds one thing. How is that possible? Is the important question of the day. Because it seems like that it shouldn't be possible for something like that to occur, one way or the other. Something to do with a clean cache, perhaps? Do you think that might be an issue with this? Let's do this. Let's go into this directory and go Look at that little ladybug. Hey, hey. There's probably a lot of stuff in there. Hope everybody's Monday has gone well, or Tuesdays, as the case may be. Wow, that's big. 245 megs is my Sublime configuration. Woo! All right, here's what we're going to do. If I start this and do this, I'm seeing one Sublime package file there. All right, let's quit out and where would we find that? The local cache? Is it in here? No. Where is that actually stored? Is it in a different place now? Hey. Cache path. Hey. Oh, it's just a top level directory that I'm apparently too blind to see. Or home T Martin. Oh, it's in .cache. Right. Oh, my bad. I forgot it was moved. Yeah. Oh, actually, let's just do that same thing again, shall we? We'll change this to cache, though. Because I'm curious. If this folder wasn't here, it's his baby. Why would he be bored with it? Oh, look, there's a little package storage directory here. Let's do this. Probably should have quit Sublime before I did that. Hey, okay. We fire it up. We say cancel. We wait for everything to load. You know, things might take a bit of time here. I don't know. I worked on the same thing for 20 years, and I'm still not bored with it. All right, that has nothing to do with the cache, from the looks of things. What else might be in here? The index. Can't imagine why that would have anything to do with anything, but still, but not in safe mode. This is weird. Let's take it back a build. Let's see. What we're currently running is what? We're currently running 12. And still happens there as well. Is there a build 4100? Let's try that one. I don't think there is. 101, pardon me. Oh, it's like that, is it? All right, well, that's unfortunate. The license key scheme changed, didn't it? I don't actually have it installed. It's just files that I untarred into a directory. I think the issue that we have here is that the license, the license, in the way the license key works, changed between one of those builds and this one to take into account that there can be bundled builds, and my current license is a bundled license. That makes testing these things slightly difficult from the perspective of, do I still have the old license kicking around? I mean, I assume I probably do. It seems like a thing that, I would have done. Or, alternately, I never got around to it. Well, let's see. This is one of those things that could be fraught with failure. Don't you know? All right. I do, in fact, use the paid version of Sublime Text. I have since. Oh, also, hello, Girish. I found Sublime in 2016 on, like, if you look on the Sublime Text forum and see what day I joined, the day before that is the day that I found Sublime, and the day that I joined the forum was the day that I bought a license, which was the very next day after I first found it, and I've been a paid user ever since of that and of Sublime Merge as well. It's an amazing piece of software. I purchased it classically. I've mentioned this a number of times in other streams, but it was such a breath of fresh air after the tools that I had been using at the time to encounter Sublime and see how it all worked and was cross-platform and worked in what I would refer to as a sane way, the way that I would have done something like this, that it wasn't bloated, that I decided even if this isn't something that I want to keep using, this is just too awesome to not throw these developers some support for coming up with such an awesome thing. And I bought the license basically on the spot. But it turns out I've just been using it for all of my editing for a extended period of time. Just to check. Yeah, okay. And that, yeah. This is that's why it's telling me that, because those builds are development builds. And yeah, you can't use development builds without a license. There's very few features of Sublime that are locked behind having a paid license. I don't begrudge anybody that uses the evaluation version for an extended period of time, because I know that it is a fair amount of money. And if you're like a student, if you're not a developer, you're not getting paid for the work that you're doing with Sublime, coming up with the amount of money for a license could potentially be, a hard thing to do. So I know there are a lot of people that will keep using it as a free version while they're a student and then pay when they get their first job, or slowly set aside money and save for it and then buy the license when they've saved up enough money, however long that actually is. The only problem that I have is with people that say that there's a free version of Sublime and a paid version of Sublime. That's not technically true. It's not. It's a free evaluation period. It's not like free, like you could just use it forever with no, whatever. It's a weird moral thing, but let your moral compass be your guide. And like I said, I hold absolutely no ill will for anybody that does or needs to do something like that. Yeah, exactly. Even Ben did that, and he works for the company now. I happen to be in a situation where I have in fact, I had the money to purchase it, even if I didn't know that I was going to keep using it. Because like I said, I was so impressed with it being small, lightweight. I've always been a fan personally, for example, of the configuration system. I was so tired of having to go through page after page after page of configuration trying to figure the thing I want. Having a list of them, being able to search it seems like an awesome thing. The way that everything worked, I just thought, this is like so damn cool. I don't even know if I'm going to keep using this. I don't know. I just know that I got to throw these guys some support. This is amazing. And that's something that I could do. That's not necessarily something that everybody can do, right? So I have no ill will for something like that. Yes, Ashwin has to make a point here. The thing with Sublime licensing is that it's the best of both worlds for all users, right? If you can't afford to purchase a license, you can keep using it and it's fully functional. It doesn't turn itself into a pumpkin after 30 days or require stuff. Once you get a license, you will get 3 years of updates, and you can use any of those versions for as long as you want. The thing that I like about it, I can install it on that computer, that blue computer, this one that's on the desk back here, the one that's on the desk back there, the one that's outside on my wife's computer, and I don't have to worry about deactivating it on this one before I start using it on that one. They're very trusting in that regard, which is also, for someone that has this many computers that I'm doing editing on, a lot of times I will find software that's like pretty cool, and then I realize, oh, I could only ever install this on one of my systems, maybe two of my systems. If it's only one, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give that a pass, because I need to be able to run tools on machines. For a couple, depending on what it is, I might say, yeah, I'm going to go for that because I have the machine that I always use, and then I'll have the backup, like on a work machine if I want to work on something. But being able to just install everywhere, that is, I think, is that even like a thing that most places still even do these days? I'm not entirely sure. It seems like an absolute no-brainer to me, indeed. Okay, here's what we're going to do. What version were we in where things went all pear-shaped? 4101. So this is the version that I can't run unless I put my old license in place. So in order that something untoward with my license key doesn't happen, what we're going to do is ship you over to the intermission screen for just one moment while I plug my license key in here. Oh, good gravy. Yes, that. Oh, I think I've experienced that one time. It's or the other thing that I hate is you can activate it 5 times, and then after 5 times it won't activate anymore. But if you want, you can talk to tech support and they will allow you, if you can come up with a good reason for, why or whatever, they'll give you more activations. The idea being that they don't want it just installing on everybody's computer everywhere. Like, you're hamstringing me here. That one just sort of seems what if something happens? The fact that they always say that if you talk to tech support, they will give you more activations. Like, well, then give me more activations. Then you're making it sound like it's a non-starter. I'm pretty sure you're going to be investigating something. So why don't you investigate how frequently a thing gets activated and just automatically stop updating it if it seems like it's happening every other day or something. I'm not in that particular business, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do this, and I will be back in, I'm going to enter my license key. Stay calm. Stay calm. I'll be back in just 1 second. I got to make sure that this doesn't leak because the world will come to an end and everything will get sucked into a singularity. We don't want that. Back in just 1 second. Alrighty, we're into old builds, and now as long as this license is in here, I think we can go forward as much as we want, and I'll just hit hey, your license should probably be upgraded. So in this build, it was still doing it too. I don't remember that, but it doesn't show up here. So this is kind of the interesting aspect of this for me, is that the reason why I noticed that this was a problem is because I use view package file roughly 700,000 times a day, and it stopped showing default at the top because it was showing Sublime package files. But it's down there and not sorted to the top like it was before. So it may have been doing this for a while, theoretically, but I just never noticed it until this. Because I would expect the answer to, hey, are there any resources, to be no. Similarly, if I was to copy that, if we quit and do this, it doesn't find them in safe mode, but it does find them in non-safe mode. And again, I don't know. Yeah, but I will do that, but my question is, in what circumstance could any plugin have an effect on the API endpoint that tells you about package files, other than something hot patching the Sublime find resources? Is that, do you think that's a thing? But that's pretty much the only thing we have to go on at this point, or there's something extra funky about it. But we can totally do that by saying settings user. The list of installed packages are these. Boop. The list of ignored packages are these. Ooh, it's going to be unhappy now, buddy. It's going to be darned unhappy now. I don't know that it's necessarily a bug. It's just something that never appeared before. Or if you will, I would suspect that if I asked it to find all of the Sublime package files, it would either find all of them or none of them, not one of them. That's the part of this that's kind of funky for me. I think this is why I asked in the Discord originally, is I was going to ask rather, is this intentional? Because let's say in the latest builds, I discovered that the list of files in view package file was showing Sublime package files. So if the API endpoint is supposed to display, if it's supposed to be able to find those, maybe I actually have that in my packages folder. Maybe that's the reason why it's busted in this particular case. I suppose we should check that eventuality, huh? Because that could totally be from all of the weird, weird crap I was pulling off. Is there a Sublime package file in here? Yes. All right. That'll fix that. Cool. That's why it would show up there. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure how that one got there. That explains why there's only one sometimes and not in safe mode. So we have that problem all sorted out now. So I would imagine now that if we start this, we'll get the result that we're interested in. Yeah, I'm sure life is good. This is the result that I would expect to see out of this. So now we're getting somewhere. So I noticed in view package file that it was showing up in there. The first thought I had was, oh, has the API endpoint been modified to allow package files? Because if it has, then we should specify that there's a bug in view package file that it doesn't filter them out. But then I noticed that it only does it sometimes and for some packages, which I guess is because of this. I can't imagine any facility by which a person would want to find them. But compare as we dare, I suppose. Let's see, what build should we start with here? Is there a 110? Yes. Let's try that one. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. The number of pop-ups is really off the deep end. Okay, it's not finding them in 10. It would be very weird if that one file being there caused all of the other ones to appear, right? No, cancel. Go away. Go away. I don't know if you can see it, but the caption bar now says license upgrade required because I'm now officially using a license key that's more than 3 years old in builds that care about that sort of thing. They work okay there. Make sure I'm clicking the right stuff. The other question would be bring those packages back just to see. If anybody's ever wondered why I have every possible version of Sublime that's ever existed, this is one of the reasons for something like that. It makes this sort of thing very easy to pull off as opposed to having to do it, manually, or just say, hey, it works now. It doesn't work now. Used to work before. We can conclusively prove. For example, if it turns out that this was all a figment of my imagination. Oh, look, now we're getting into the builds with the fancy new changelog. Cancel. Oh, right. This is a weird issue that I have discovered previously. Can I interact with this? No, I can't. And that's because the changelog is the one that has the action, but I can't talk to that one because this one's in front. Tricky. Can I even quit this now? I don't think I can. I can't interact with this window, and I can't interact with that window because I get the feeling that they're like both modal or something. There we go. I pushed it. I pushed escape. That didn't seem to have any effect. But we need to switch the build for that to be the case, doesn't it? Oh, look, this. I remember this one. Okay. This is the build where it starts happening. What build are we in here? I already forget. Build 4114 is the one where using view package file starts showing Sublime package files because find resources finds them, whereas previous builds didn't. Okay. Let's make a note of that number. Like so. That'll make that a little bit nicer to do stuff. Now, here's what we're going to do. Let's take it. Let's take it back to this version and run it. So we end up with what should have been a new version, I would have thought. Unless I did that wrong. If I can't spell about, I probably did something wrong, right? Okay, this is build 4113. Okay. And then we'll comment out that. And let's also comment out that as well. Quit this. Now, if we take it to 4114, it should think it's a new version and show the change log in theory. It's not displaying it now, though. Oh, I thought I commented that out. Crap. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, that key doesn't do anything now. Right. All right. That's fun. I should have noticed that happening, huh? Yes, I could have done that a lot smarter than that. Okay, let's go to 4113 again. Nothing. Should it not be telling me that there's a new version? Oh, sorry. I went the wrong way with that. Indeed, right? People love the sound of mechanical. No, this true story. I was fishing around on Amazon for. I didn't end up getting anything because they all were coming from sketchy places in China, but there are. Or the ones that were in my price range anyway. Small little sample keyboards with like 3 keys or 9 keys, or one of them had like 24 keys. A tiny little add-on keyboard that was USB that you could configure to do whatever it was you like. I thought, hey, maybe this would be fun to do stream stuff with and the like. Have a hardware coded thing. All of them ended up being weirdly, shipping from some place in China that seemed very sketchy. There, those situations that you find where you find the same product 30 times and all of them have the exact same photo and the exact same details, but the name is slightly different and the company that comes from is slightly different, which always kind of makes me a little suspect. And then there was stuff that was just way too expensive, and I ended up not getting one. But what they did have, which was extremely tempting, and I had to hold myself back, was a tiny little section of a keyboard specifically for mechanical key testing, and it had in it one of all of the different cherry switches with keycaps on them. Wasn't connected to anything. It was just keys inside of a little key thing so that you could press each of them and see what the tactile response was. I imagine something that you might put like in a store for someone to be able to say, yeah, I like the feel of that, or no, that's too stiff, that's too clicky. And the idea of just having one of those to just sit here at the desk drumming my fingers on, making keyboard tapping sounds, was almost more than I could bear. But fortunately, my wife was walking around, and there could have been some terrible, terrible issues there. Okay, so whatever that problem was seems to not be repeatable. So good, bad, hard to say. This build is definitely broken. That I've noticed that issue, by the way, on Windows one time too. But what actually happened there was the change dialog popped up, and then the update dialog popped up, and then the changelog dialog popped up on top of it, and I needed to navigate to the update dialog and say cancel, and then the other one would go. But clearly that was one of those weird things that just goes wrong because we're on stream. Okay, let's put all of this stuff back the way it should be. Somebody asked earlier if I could help them with their problems with Terminus, but they never got back to me with what the problem was that they were actively seeing. If you're still watching, if you can explain what the problem is with Terminus that you're having, we can help you work through it. But in general, check the console to see if there are any errors. Would be the way to go. Okay. The latest version is what, 4120? Is that the one that is latest and greatest? We'll find out in a minute, won't we? Yes, it is. All right, so we have created a plugin for a guy, and we know that build 4114 is the one in which there was a weird regression regarding finding Sublime package files as a part of this. They all appear to be coming from packages. I only can claim ownership of the one that I accidentally plunked in there. And I'd like to say that I probably did something like that because I was testing something, or I thought I was doing something with this, but I can't say for sure. Just because I'm paranoid now. There's definitely not any in there. Perhaps. I wasn't sure if it was something to do with silent updates, or just not having the time to do it, or potentially the idea that now the dialogue tells you more information than it did before. The fact that I'm liking the fact that text pops that up is cool. I can't remember if merge does that now too. I guess it probably does, huh? Yeah. The problem that I've historically had is that merge didn't have a dialogue like this, because the idea was that you'd use your package manager to update it. It wouldn't have it on Linux, I should say. So frequently I was behind the curve when it came to this, until I remembered that I should probably update things. Okay. So we definitely do not have any of that sort of action in here. One last thing to look at. View resource is the view package file command, which uses resource name input handler, which is that thing right up there. This finds all resources, and if it starts with packages, it adds it in. So one thing that we could actually do here, if we use view package file, those appear. We could override this and add in, and it doesn't end with sublime-package, right? Then don't do that. We could say override audit, override this resource, and f dot ends with sublime-package. Then if we did view package file, they wouldn't appear in the list. So that's one thing we could do. I don't know that we necessarily need to do a thing like that, though. And I'm going to just quit and restart to put that back. Just to point that out. So here's what we could actively do here as perhaps one of our last things in the stream. If you ever find a problem with your copy of Sublime Text, or you have a suggestion for something that you would like to see added to it, you might be of the opinion that you should jump on over to the forum and add a post and put it in, technical support or ideas and feature requests, which is kind of an unfortunate name here, and type a thing in there. The problem with that is that anything on the forum gets slowly pushed down and down and down as new things are added. So if you report a bug here or you ask for a feature here, then the chances of it getting seen or implemented go way down, because by the time it comes around to let's find more work to do, there's a lot of posts on this forum that go way back. This is only 2 weeks worth. So that's not a good way to do something like that. What you want to do, what you can do if using Sublime Text 4, is go into the help menu, and there is an item here, if I can find it, called report a bug. Was it not? Boop. Wait, that's the wrong sort of. Today at 8:15 p.m. There you go. Haha, those weren't there earlier. Hey, that happened midstream. That was very stealthy, sir. Is it? It's John that does that after he does merges, right? I would imagine. Again, the idea, what you want to do here is if you have a problem, don't put it into the forum. Go into Sublime. Go into your help menu. There's an item here called report a bug. It's going to take you directly to the issue tracker. You got to have a GitHub profile for this, but you can report a bug, or you can file an enhancement or feature request if there's something that you'd like to have Sublime add out of the default, or you think there's an idea. Doing something like this means that your comment actually gets added to the official tracker where the developers can keep track of it, and people that agree with you can come and thumb things up, and that's how things get pushed further up in the hierarchy. If you have a problem with syntax highlighting, you shouldn't report that here. There's a separate repository for that, and the link will actually take you directly there. And this looks pretty cool too. I haven't seen this in a while. This is pretty cool. Is this the stuff that you did, Ashwin? I think you had a pull request for this. This looks snazzy. But for our purposes here, let's say we want to report a bug. So we might say Sublime.find resources finds Sublime package files, for example. They're announced now, Ashwin. Here is more important information. If you are a developer, then you already know all of this information. But if you're not a software developer, then you should know that in order for someone to resolve the problem that you have to describe what the problem is that you're seeing, how you can reproduce that particular problem, and what you expect to happen instead. If you just open a bug report and say it no worky and leave, nobody is going to be able to fix anything because you haven't actually described the problem that you're having. And even if you say something like, everything is black. Well, obviously not everything is always black for everybody. If that was the case, you wouldn't be reporting the bug. It would have been fixed. We all would have noticed that we can't see anything. So what sort of situations are you finding this problem in? Actually, that's the sort of information that you need to provide in your bug report. So there's a reason why when you do this, there is a a template for what you should fill out in this thing. The more details you can provide how to actually cause a thing to happen, the greater the likelihood that something can be fixed, right? If a developer like Ben, for example, is looking for tasks to assign himself, and he looks and there's a thing that says, it's not working right, fix it. And there's a thing that says, whenever I try to open a file of this particular type and I look for a symbol, I don't find the symbol that I'm looking for, but it works in a shorter file and for the same code, and I've narrowed it down and it seems to only happen in files that are more than 10,000 lines long. Well, now you've provided, first of all, perhaps an interesting problem, but more importantly, some avenue of exploration for what might actually be wrong. Chances that that one will be fixed over the other one, go way up. Just so we're clear, Ben, Ashwin was the one that was complaining. It wasn't me. Complaining. No. But this could mean that your assessment that it's a sneaky build up to stable is probably not the deal. When using the API endpoint Sublime.find resources to look for a pattern of all files or star.sublime-package files, the list of files in the installed packages. We don't actively know that yet, do we? I might be lying here, so we need to clarify this. Let's clear the console. Is this just this? It looks like is just the shipped packages. It's not installed packages. It's finding the contents of the packages folder that contains the shipped packages. Otherwise, we would be seeing things like override audit and, more importantly, 00 package control loader in here. I was just teasing Ashwin. I don't think Ben is taking it that way either. It's more or less, if nothing else, a statistical anomaly. It's kind of exciting to fire up Sublime and have it see that there's a new update, and then you go look in the Discord and there's not one there, and you could be like, there's a new build, and everybody gets out the party hats, because I would imagine a lot of people like me start Sublime and it's just running 24 hours a day, so the chance of it being able to actually detect that there's a new build goes way down. Well, that is indeed true. Perhaps we're getting close. I didn't think of it in quite that way. I sort of took it more. Well, I mean, I guess the two ways you could look in that is there was a regression in a dev build and you want to get that fixed as soon as possible because you know there are people that are in dev builds, and there was a problem in the latest dev build and you want to get that fixed as soon as possible because you're getting ready to do a stable build. I could sort of see that going either way. The list of, okay, let's change this. When using the API endpoint, Sublime find resources to look for a pattern of all files or Sublime. Okay, let's change it this way. The API endpoint, Sublime long resources, finds and returns Sublime package files from inside of the packages folder that contains the packages that ship directly with Sublime. In cases where the file pattern would match, such as for all files or like this for package files. It's unclear whether this is intentional or okay. Well, we actually want to say that. Well, I don't really have advice on that, and please, we're all about legal software here, sir. So if we can refrain from cracking talk, that would be great. Thank you. If you don't have the money to purchase a copy of Sublime, then you can just use it for free for an extended period of time. There's no need to, yeah, besides anything else, using software that's cracked is a great way to backdoor your system to make sure that botnets and hackers have full access to all of your information. So you have to weigh, do I want to occasionally get bothered by a pop-up, or do I want to be owned and have all of my personal information and identity stolen? You know, there's a balance there. Okay, start Sublime in safe mode. Second step. Open the console with view, show, console. Third step. Enter sublime.find resources star.sublime-package and press enter. The results of this should be an empty array. I'm assuming. that would work. A shoe would work as well in that case. Okay. But instead, a list of all of the shipped packages is provided. This appears to only be default shipped packages. Files from installed packages are not listed here. Oh, sorry. I did that wrong. It should contain an empty array because package files are not themselves resources. Follow the list. Actual behavior. The API endpoint provides a list of all the shipped packages. This appears to only be default packages, files from installed packages. Okay, and this is build 4114 operating system and version. That's going to be Slackware Linux 14.2, and this is XFCE, like so. Thanks for stopping by, Ashwin. Have a great day. We're probably going to be ending in 20 minutes or so. Let's add a little bit more to our bug report. The API endpoint, checking through versions, through past versions, shows that this started occurring. Occurring is one of those words I cannot spell. One C, one R, two C's, two R's, both. Something just got released. Uh-oh. I just subscribed to a bot on Telegram. I believe it checks Sublime's update URL like every minute. Well, that's exciting. Here we're going to go. Build 4114. Prior to that, preview our issue. The API endpoint, Sublime Find Resources, finds and returns Sublime package files from inside of the packages folder that contains the packages that ship directly with Sublime, in cases where the file pattern would match, such as everything for all files or start.sublime package for package files. It's unclear whether this is intentional or not. I assume not, but it causes view package file to display the shipped packages in the list, which are binary and thus not readily viewable. Really viewable. Checking through the past version shows that this started occurring with build 4114. Prior to that, this endpoint worked as one would expect. Start Sublime Text in safe mode, open the console, enter that, press enter. The results of this should be an empty array. Actual behavior, the API endpoints provide a list of all shipped packages. This appears to only be default packages. We're launching the issue. Whoop! Now, we immediately come over to here and... Right, it's not going to find it there, is it? No, it's not. But that's okay, because we can fix it. We click a link. Well, the page still thinks 4113, so there's that. Or I was here earlier today. There we go. A little bit of a flush will do what we want. Reload this page too. Please do not cache it. We want the portable version for Windows and the tarball thusly. And then we can go over to our terminal here. See Sublime Text Windows and move the download. Sublime Text to here. Then we tar. Please extract the file from Sublime Text Linux build 4121. Come on, man. Did I put it in the wrong spot? Or did I download the wrong file? This is what happens when you try to do stuff live. It all goes pear-shaped. Quick check. Well, let's do that again then, shall we? Weird. And boom! New update dialog that shows versions, license status, and links to the changelog. Various syntax highlighting improvements. Use goto symbol to jump to specific files and find results. Improved color scheme, theme selection UI. Layout is no longer remembered when hot exit is disabled. You can change this using the new remember layout setting. Right delete. Now respects use tab stops. Various improvements to behavior of moving sheets during window layouts. Improved mini diff and white space rendering. This is quite the good gravy. How long has it been? It doesn't seem like it was that long, but I guess it must have been, huh? Wow, man. It's fun to see a thing like this because, you know, clearly the last build was 4113. Now we're on build 4121. And there's been so many dev versions that we've seen the changelog incrementally bump up as it was going along. So now we're seeing them all combined into one. This is an epic level of action in here. Sometimes I wonder if I should do videos whenever there's a new dev build to try and tell people what's new in the latest dev build. I'm not entirely sure if people would like that. If you would, let me know down in the comments, or if you're in the chat right now while we're live, let me know there as well. The funny thing about this, Ben, and I know I've mentioned this before, is change logs that just say miscellaneous change logs are like my wanna slap somebody trigger, because if you don't want to say what you've changed, then why put a change log out? And no one is worse than that than Nintendo. Every time anything changes in the Switch's firmware, the change log is always one line that says that it now is this particular version for eStore access, and then the next line is usability enhancements and improvements. And that's it. I mean, I guess in their defense, nothing ever really seems like it changed, but oh, that is irritating. This is the cool stuff. Does this mean that now that this build is out, licenses will start being invalidated, or is it after this so that there's at least one build where it doesn't do it before it starts? I can't remember how that was supposed to work. Check for updates. Also, it's supposed to say that my license, your license would need an upgrade. Although we can see that it needs an upgrade, but it's not telling me. But I'm also running the version that I'm running, so theoretically I could see why it wouldn't tell me that I need a new license for the version that I'm already running, because I already know that. But this is cool. This dialogue looks fantastic, by the way. But I'm sure you probably already know that. License expiry. Once the stream ends, I will get on putting my license key back to the appropriate one, because that license update required there is kind of jiggling at my senses. But I can hold off on that so as to ensure that things don't go a little pear-shaped with having to purchase a new license after it gets leaked. That would be rough indeed. Let's close you. Yeah, that's sort of what I figured. Oh, hey, does that mean if I took it down to 40? Oh wait, no, I was in 4120. Well, compares me there. I went too far. Boy, it's a good thing that I'm just doing it this way and not just typing it out manually. So now I'm in build 4120, right? And then, oh, sorry, I should do it here. That was probably the problem there, right? So yeah, the thing that confused me about that is it didn't say it, but it wouldn't, because this is a dev build and the other one's a stable build, and it doesn't, the two streams don't cross there. So yeah, all right. That's the confusion that I had in my head there, because it really seemed like that should be telling me a thing, but no, that totally makes sense. Right on. This is some cool action. The one thing that we wanted to test here is just to make sure we weren't lying in our little post there. Ooh, I thought there was going to be a problem, but yeah. Go to 4119 and it should show. Alrighty, I can do that. Boop. Ah, there we go. Sweet. So does it not check for new builds every time you start it? Because it sort of seemed like that's what it was doing before, but this time I had to trigger it manually. Just out of curiosity. That's cool though. So many people are going to be happy about that. I mean, except for the people that aren't, because they insist on thinking that the license that they purchased 7 years ago was a lifetime license, because licenses that don't expire and licenses that allow you free updates for the rest of your natural life are two distinct things, which can sometimes cause people some confusion. But there is some awesome technology behind the scenes in this operation. Cool beans. Ah, sweet. Yeah, I think that was the other. I sort of suspected that might be the case. Certainly, yeah, as we saw earlier in the stream, it was doing it quite frequently previously. If you have been watching my streams here on YouTube or on Twitch for the last little while, all this cool stuff that I've been doing is now available to you in a dev build. Now, I suppose this means that for the rest of this evening and part of tomorrow, my inbox is going to blow up with all of the issues being closed out as a result of these, unless they've been sort of. Actually, no. I guess we've been seeing messages that say fixed in build 4119 and the like, and then the issues close, right? So this has been a fun time. We created a plugin for a person. I need to throw this up into a gist forum if he's interested in that sort of thing. We diagnosed a problem in Sublime and generated a bug report for it. So now there's a chance that it will actively be fixed, which wouldn't be the case if we just think, oh, there's a bug. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe it will just magically be fixed if nobody talks about it. This is why it's hiccups, pardon me. This is why it's important to report problems when you have them. Be polite if you have a problem and you want to report it. Being snarky doesn't make anybody your friend. We all get unhappy with things from time to time, but there's no way for things to get better unless somebody explains what's actively wrong. And with that, I think it is time to call this stream a night. Thanks to everybody for showing up. It was a good time. One of the things I would like to work on is some more override audit stuff, but we'll see what the next week brings. If you would like to see some more Sublime Text development, or if you have a question about Sublime and you didn't get it answered, say if you have a problem with Terminus not working for you and you're not entirely sure why, you can ask me in the comment section for any of the videos you're going to find here on my channel. You can ask me in the Discord. You can ask on the forum. You can even ask in my Twitch streams, which happen on Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific, the same time as streams happen here. I think that's probably about it. I hope everybody has a Sublime week. I'll see you either in next Monday's video or next Monday's live stream, or possibly in one of the Twitch live streams. And until then, I am going to drink the last little bits of my coffee, harass my dog with kisses on the face, and send a work email in abeyance of tomorrow's long pile of meetings. So I want everybody out there to get out there, update your version of Sublime Text to the latest build, and play with all of the cool new stuff that has been made available to us in this fantastic software. And with that, please have a Sublime week.